Welcome to the fifth model of the catfish farming course. In this model, we'll be addressing catfish feeding and nutrition management. By the end of this video, you would understand the essential nutritional requirements for your catfish growth. You will learn effective feeding schedule and techniques, and you'd also explore alternative and homemade feed options to reduce costs. Why is the nutrition of your catfish important? Because nutrition plays a key role in your fish growth and the health and the production efficiency. Poor nutrition will lead to stunted growth, higher disease risk, and lower your yield. What are the nutritional components you now need for growth? You need protein, fat, vitamins, and minerals. For protein, 20 to 40% of the diet of your juveniles. For fat, so that you can provide energy and support for their metabolic function, it should be 5 to 10% of their diet. There are vitamins necessary for immune health, bone strength, and overall vitality. What are the protein sources of feed for your catfish? The ways you can get protein into your catfish feed is through soya bean meal, groundnut meal, fish meal. And it's important that you balance this with animal and plant-based protein. So this is fish meal and soya bean, fish meal and groundnut meal. Cost effective alternative you can try out is earthworm meal and insect-based protein. My special advice: aim for protein sources that provide complete amino acid for better growth. And those are the combination of the animal and the plant-based meals. There are various type of catfish feed and they have their uses. There's the commercial pellets, easy to manage but very expensive. There's the floating one, it helps you monitor your feeding because the sinking one is based on need, but usually with the floating one, water management is a lot easier. And then there's the home feed, the one that you make yourself. But the advantage of the home feed is that with the home feed, you can always balance your nutrients. There are various feeding stages in your catfish growth. The fry stage. So at the fry stages are the very smallest part. If you are not into hatchery, you usually have no business with this stage. They eat 6 to 8 times daily. They feed small, but you have to give them food frequently. Fingerling, which is the ones at the earliest stage which dis fish come into your farm. If you are growing your fish for grow out, dey eat 3 to 4 times per day. And at grow out stage, you want to feed them 1 to 2 times a day to ensure sufficient nutrients. How much and how often do you feed your fish? Based on your feeding, you base your feeding frequency and amount based on their age, their size, and environmental factor. As a general rule, feed 3.5% of the body weight per day. What does it mean? It means that if your fish weighs 20 kg, you need to feed them up to 5% of 20 kg, right? That is the weight of the feed that each of the fish should have. So it means that if your fish weigh 20 kg and you have 100 kg, it means 20 kg, 5% of 20 kg times your number of fish is the weight of the fish feed you should feed your fish per day. So you can then divide that into morning, afternoon, or you can be putting 1% till 5 times a day, or you do 1.5% 4 times a day, or you do 2% and 1% 2 times a day. You have to adjust your feeding based on their growth rate and the activity level. Overfeeding overfeeding will waste your feed and lead to poor water quality. So we say 3 to 5%. You can start at 3, at rare situation get to 5, but ensure that you give them between 3 to 4 every day. Once you start feeding them 7%, 8%, you are wasting the feed and it's not going to lead to growth because it will affect your water quality, and water quality affect your fish productivity, and then your fish begin to deal with a lot of things. There are various techniques to maximize your feeding efficiency. First, do spot feeding. Place feed in a specific area so dat you can monitor and control the feeding. Sometimes do the scattered feeding over a large area, especially if the pond is very big, so dat you can avoid competition, so dat they are not coming to one place to eat, so dat it's only the ones that can fight that can eat food. Those that cannot fight will not see any food to eat. Then other ways are automatic feeding and hand feeding. Each one has its own benefit. So with your hand feeding you can observe, your automatic feeding save time. And my advice, choose a technique that reduce waste for you and fit your farm setup. So if you have a very wide farm, scattered feeding. Not so wide, maybe you are doing tarpaulin, you want to do the spot feeding. Observe your catfish during feeding. Look for any signs of healthy appetite and quick consumption. Adjust their feed amount if the feed remains uneaten. If you notice that you gave them 4%, 4% of their weight as feed for the day, now you drop it down to 3%. But you give them 4% and notice they rush it, you want to increase it to 5% or 4.5 and see how it goes. Always make sure you measure these things. Monitor your water quality regularly, as overfeeding can lead to pollution. So the moment you notice that they left their food for a very long time, their water quality is dropping, guys. You want to check that. As a tip, consis ten t feeding pattern indicates good health. So if your fish eat good today, tomorrow e no eat good, next tomorrow e no eat good, something is wrong with your fish. Something is absolutely wrong with them. So what are the benefits? So now, beyond all of these feeding patterns, there are benefits to alternative feed sources, which are the things we see around us over buying feed. The benefit is that it lowers your feeding costs, right? So you can make your catfish farm more profitable. Alternative feed are usually locally sourced, so it also helps you to reduce your dependency on commercial feed, especially during scarcity and times when you are broke and cannot afford the price. What are the common ingredients for homemade catfish? Like I discussed earlier, for protein, groundnut cake. What? Guys, browse groundnut cake. That should be an assignment for you. For groundnut cake, soya bean, earthworm and insect meal are for protein. For energy, maize, rice bran and cassava peel. Actually, rice bran is like the peel of the cassava, of the rice bran is the peel of the rice. And for vitamin, carrot powder, moringa leaves and fish liver oil. Usually we always advise people that, if you have a catfish farm and you have land mass, you want to have all these things growing around. So just put groundnut somewhere, put soya bean somewhere, put maize somewhere, just put all these things around so that you can always have them within your farm, both for your own personal consumption and for making your feed in the quantity. My advice, aim to maintain the right balance of protein, vitamins and minerals in your homemade meal. So it means that you always have to test, what are the steps to make your own homemade catfish feed. Select the ingredients that meet the nutritional need that your catfish need at this stage. Grind and mix all of them for uniform nutrition. Then compress it into pellets to match the commercial feed form. Then you dry the pellet and then you store it in a dry and cool place. Exactly like the feed that the person we see in the picture have in their hand. Now, let's compare the cost and nutrition in all of your feed choices. If you choose homemade feed, it's economic. It can be very, very economical, but most times you will lack the precise nutrient balance as compared to a commercial feed. Now, commercial feed usually contains the complete nutrition, but it comes at a higher cost. What is the suggested strategy? Combine both your commercial feed for early stages, then alternate feed as they grow. My advice is, track your growth rate and adjust your feed accordingly. Ensure that they are growing at the stage you need them to grow at each month based on the feeding that you are giving them before you begin to switch your feed. What is the summary of this conversation? Catfish need balanced diet, protein, fat, vitamins and minerals. Efficient feeding techniques will help you reduce waste and ensure optimal growth. Homemade feed can be cost effective, especially if you balance it with the proper nutrients. So what's the task? What's one technique that stood out for you? And which of these source of homemade feed surprised you the most? And which one do you have around you that you think that you can already start growing to go into catfish feed production? Let me know in the comment section and I'll see you in the next module. Thank you.